Well, good morning and welcome to another adventure. It's a lovely sunny morning here on the north coast of Jersey. And yes, that is me climbing down some psycho, crazy cliff to try and get to a mark. Now, the aim of the game this morning is to try and find myself a pollock. It's a little bit early in the season. I'm not too sure if the pollock are going to be on this particular pinnacle yet, but it's worth a try. I've got myself a couple of rods, a light one and a heavy one, a bag full of goodies, a bag full of lures, metals, soft plastics, you name it, I've got it. I've come prepared and we're going to see if we can get into something. Now, let's fast forward a couple of hours. I've fished everywhere on this rock. I've cast at the pinnacle, over the weed beds, over all the areas where I think I'm going to get a fish, and I don't. It's a hard slog. And with the climb, I thought I cannot go back up empty-handed. So to end this session, I banged on a couple of soft plastics and a couple of smaller metals and caught some brass. Yep, it's nice to get a bend in the rod. Sometimes a bend in the rod is better than a blank, trust me. So for the rest of this video, after this session, I had a free day. I decided to head out and try and catch some more fish. The weather was closing in with the grey skies, the rain, the cloud was on its way. So I just thought to myself, I've got some spare clothes in the car, let's get out, let's try and catch some more fish. And that's what I done. So let's go. Now, for anyone that is new to the channel, welcome. Jersey is such a small place. 9 miles by 5. A drive from one mark to another does not take time. Now I was on my way to another spot and I was thinking to myself, what do I do? It's a really small tide, not much is happening. The fishing has been a little quiet, but the tide is on the rise. So I thought to myself, I'll tell you what, I'll go to some places close to home, and if it doesn't work, I'll just kick back and relax. I got to a spot, didn't really think anything was going to happen, and this happened. Oh, is that a fish? Yes. Oh my God, I was not expecting that. I don't know how good it is. I think it's just small and it's just fighting away. I've not seen it yet as well. Just on the brown fantasy. Set himself free there. Oh, flipping heck. That was a really good take. I don't know if that was a fish following me there. Shallow, you'd have probably seen the V wave. Oh! Bang! Get in there. Slammed me right behind that rock. Small again, I think. Just unsure. Staying deep. Oh, it's a little better. So I've had some really good knocks. Solid knocks. Bass fishing can be a funny old thing. You can probably tell by my videos I don't just fish for bass. But on this particular day, the bass just seem to be everywhere. Tuning into the fish now, I've not really had much luck today and I've just started to find bass everywhere, albeit they're pretty small. Albeit they were small, between 35 and 45 centimetres. But literally every chuck I was into a fish. I started fishing with a YKR 20 gram white sand eel, but I was getting very finicky taps on my lure, kind of like a bass is getting half the sand eel in its mouth. 2 in 2 casts there, but not getting all the way to the hook. So I changed over to a 15 gram version, which is a little bit smaller in length, and bang, it was on. A fisher cast. It kind of got boring after a while. It's weird to say that, but when you're catching small bass after small bass, there's nothing really in it. So what I done is I caught as many as I could. I kind of got bored and I went somewhere else.
Fishing's been so slow today, and I've just put on this really small YKR 15 gram and the fish are just hammering it every cast. Yup, there we go. Just keep on coming. Little quiet patch, I thought that'll be my last cast, and then magic lure.
Now, after I left this spot, I got caught up in an absolutely torrential downpour. The weather had been on edge all day. The weatherman said it was supposed to rain earlier, and luckily it didn't quite catch it, albeit a few small showers. But I was walking back to my car and I got absolutely drenched. The rain came down, the wind piled up, and the weather front that was supposed to come in a couple of hours before truly kicked in. But after the madness that had happened on that particular mark, I thought I've got to stay on these fish. I could have probably stayed on them there and then, catching small bass after a small bass. But I thought to myself, I'll go try my luck somewhere else where there's a little bit of run. So I drove up the coast and found some more run further down tide. Again, I started off with a small sand eel and cast into the run, hoping that I would get into some fish. And that's what I done.
Fish on! Yep. First fish. I don't know how big it is. Oh, there's another fish with that fish as well. Oh, he's off. There's another fish chasing that one as well. Miserable. It's not stopped raining. But it's nice to get a bend in the rod. And all I'm doing is fishing over, this is a massive reef in front of us. Loads of little areas for the fish to hold up in, loads of little eddies being caused. Perfect place for an ambush. Tide's running over it, as you can clearly see. Oh, fish on right there. Oh, I seen that thing hit me. Hey, that hit me right under my feet. Well, there seems to be some fish around here. Second fish I've had, the first one came off. That one literally hit me right under the lip, right in front of me, but fat little schoolie, bigger than a hot dog. Rod's being washed away, reels in the water. Took on the right happy eel. Let's get you back and let's get fishing. That fish hit me right there. Just a slow wind does it. Because of the tide moving right to left, the sand eel's going to sweep naturally with the tide. So really slow, bring it in. If it's going too slow, you're going to hit the reef, but sometimes lift your rod up high when you can feel it coming over the reef, just so it doesn't get stuck. Pretty sure I've just seen a fish shimmer behind my lure. A bit more of a goldy colour, could have been a pollock. I'm trying to let my lure flow as much as possible. Look as natural as, without it getting stuck. Right, as you can probably see, the tide is absolutely pissing behind me, and I think it's a really good point to make, especially if you're a newbie to the rocks. Look, I'm no pro, but when coming to a place where it's ripping, I like to situate myself kind of like in the middle of the run, if that makes sense. I've got reef that stretches all the way behind me, but if I'm at kind of the top side of the reef where the water is coming onto it, my lure is going to be naturally pulling to the left constantly, bringing the lure higher into the water column. Now if I situate myself on mid-reef, I can cast up tide and I can let this lure naturally come through, keeping tight on the braid, on the rod, on the lure itself, and letting it flow, and just reeling when I need to reel, just to keep tight to it. Now, if I was up at the top and there were fish there, I would obviously stay there. Sometimes the fish might be just on the very front of the reef, but usually I like to fish mid-reef, cast up tide, and just cover as much of the reef as possible. Now, you can see it's moving pretty quick. I'm using a 20-gram lure. I'm gonna try and use a 15-gram lure in a minute, but I think it might push the top. There won't be enough weight to keep it down in the water layer. Any heavier in a place like this where it's about 10 foot of water, you're going to be sinking too quick and you're going to be getting snagged up, but also you're going to lose the motion of the lure. So it's always good to have a lure which is not too heavy but not too light, something you can keep the feel of, but it's something that's going to keep a natural action when it's going through the swim, but also keeping that motion and keeping that lively look in the lure. Let's try and get some more fish. Be really nice to get a couple more.
Well, let's be honest with you, I am drenched, soaked to the core. I put some waders on for this little session at the end, but my jacket is absolutely soaked. It's time to pack up. The fishing is dried up, it's quiet, my luck is over. But it's been a great day's fishing. It started off with a big hike, it ended with a lot of fish. Sometimes you've got to make the miles up to get into them. It doesn't always happen at once. Putting in those miles, putting in those hours, will eventually catch you fish. Just remember, cast all you catch, put a big smile on your face, and always think the next cast is gonna make it happen.